A gloomy start to the day here in the city. Environment Canada has issued a special weather statement for the GTA with strong winds and heavy rain expected Sunday. The agency is warning about localized flooding, water pooling, and potential power outages in some areas. Let's bring in weather specialist Kabir Bagaria for our first look at the forecast. Hey, Kabir.
Thanks so much for that, Catherine. As we take a look at a relatively gloomy, rainy Saturday, and some of that weather is going to continue going into the day on Sunday. Folks, let's take a look at exactly what that means. So we'll see more rainfall expected for your Saturday overnight, late night, and then, of course, possibility for heavy periods of rain going through the overnight period as well. Now, this is mostly going to be around the Kawartha Lakes. You can expect that in the Great Lake region as well, continuing through Sunday overnight. Some spotty showers for southern Ontario and, of course, along the Golden Horseshoe, and then eventually clearing out with some nice weather coming up for the next couple of days. We're going into more mild temperatures, folks. Let's talk about what that means. So, in terms of the next couple of days, we're going into the teens, actually, and this is where I really wanted to draw your attention. Possibility here for some thunderstorms on Sunday. Check this out. Going into for Wednesday as well. Not very much rainfall anticipated. We're getting that out of the way this weekend. And of course, for tonight, well, we're going down to a low of 8 degrees, rain for the overnight period, as I mentioned. And of course, for tomorrow, this is what you can anticipate for much of southern Ontario. Similar temperatures sitting in the mid to high teens, especially as we take a look at Fort Erie going up to 18 degrees. But of course, rain for the overnight period before it clears out.
Thanks, Kabir. At least.
Thank you so much for that, Catherine. As we take a look at about 5 degrees for the overnight period, and of course, we're going to see temperatures start to fall a little bit for eastern Canada. We'll get to that in just a sec. We're going to start off in the west, where we're seeing that higher elevation snowfall continuing for much of BC's interior, the Rockies as well, and then eventually this snow system making its way into southern Manitoba, bringing with it 15 centimeters of snow for some portions of the province. Environment Canada already issuing a winter storm warning, and we can be seeing that accumulation continuing right through Tuesday. So be aware of that, folks. And of course, as we see this rainfall for eastern Canada, you can anticipate a rainy couple of days for southern Ontario before clearing out going into Monday and Tuesday. And then that same system makes its way up the St. Lawrence and eventually into Atlantic Canada. But what we want to watch out for here is how the ground absorbs this rainfall, simply because the ground is frozen right now, so it's harder for things to get absorbed, and there is a risk of flooding and, of course, some strong winds as well, as we see the fluctuation in temperatures, rather. Now, we're going to be seeing about 20 millimeters of accumulation there of rainfall, eventually dissipating ever so slightly, with parts of New Brunswick seeing 35 millimeters of rainfall as well going through into Tuesday. Let's talk about where temperatures are going for your day on Sunday, folks. We're seeing some of that patchy rain for parts of Vancouver, eventually BC's interior. Kelowna sitting at 9, cooling off as we get onto the other side of the Rockies. Of course, Edmonton and Calgary sitting at -5 and -2 degrees tomorrow, respectively. For Manitoba as well, Winnipeg sitting at -3, Saskatoon -8, and Regina sitting at -6. Cloudy skies anticipated there, and then things start to heat up as we get past Thunder Bay. We get into southern Ontario. Windsor sitting at 14 for your day on Sunday, 16 for Toronto, 15 for Ottawa, and of course 14 for Montreal. Quebec City following along there as well. St. John staying into the negative temperatures, but for the Maritimes, well, for Fredericton, New Brunswick sitting at 13, and Halifax 12 degrees with sunshine. Charlottetown 12 as well. For the day today, though, Toronto feeling like 14. More of that rainfall on the way. And if you're in Hamilton, well, 18 degrees Celsius is where you were at today. Let's talk about when this rainfall will come through. Well, we're looking at the overnight period with heavy periods of rainfall continuing through the overnight period. Some spotty showers for your day on Sunday before eventually dissipating, and we'll get to see some of those clearer skies going through Monday afternoon into your Tuesday as well. In terms of how much rainfall we can be anticipating, well, this is a good indication. About 8 millimeters there for Toronto and parts of the Golden Horseshoe, and of course, as I mentioned, cooling off for Monday and Tuesday, eventually going up to a high of 14 before seeing some of that rainfall for your Sunday. Of course, we'd like to let you know how your dog walking forecast is going to be tomorrow. You're going to need an umbrella, but of course, if these guys are taking out lovely Dallas and Lilith, well, definitely going to need an umbrella, especially as you go through the afternoon period.
weather, a gloomy start to the day here in the city. Environment Canada has issued a special weather statement for the GTA with strong winds and heavy rain expected Sunday. The agency is warning about localized flooding, water pooling, and potential power outages in some areas. Let's bring in weather specialist Kabir Bagaria for our first look at the forecast. Hey, Kabir.
Thank you so much for that, Catherine. As we take a look at a relatively calm night before we look at more rain making its way around southern Ontario, Golden Horseshoe, and of course for Toronto. This is going to be mostly through the overnight period tonight around 3 a.m. Heavy periods possible. That's going to continue and eventually dissipate by the time we get into about midday tomorrow. Some passing showers, but that should clear out fully by the time we get into our Monday. Even some sunshine potentially on the way there as well, folks. So be prepared for a little bit of a moist Sunday, but eventually getting into the warmth. Now, let's talk about where this is going temperature-wise. As I mentioned, Sunday, heavy periods, even the possibility for thunderstorms, 13 degrees, eventually going down to about 7 by Tuesday rolls around. And of course, Wednesday, look at that. 14 degrees is expected, but with these variations in temperatures, you can expect some stronger winds and, of course, the risk of flooding here, where we could see up to 70 kilometers an hour potentially through the overnight period. Now, in terms of where we're going for tonight, 8 degrees is going to be the temperature, and for tomorrow, 13 is your high. But of course, remember, take out that umbrella for your day on Sunday.
Thanks, Kabir.
Time now for a look at our national forecast, of course, with a focus on Toronto. I'm Kabir Bagaria. 5 degrees for the overnight period for the city of Toronto. We're going to start off, though, in the west, where we're looking at higher elevation snowfall in the Rockies. Eventually, a band of this snow making its way into southern Saskatchewan and southern Manitoba, where it will bring with it up to 15 centimeters for some parts of the region. In fact, a winter storm warning already in effect for southern Manitoba, where Brandon could be seeing up to 13 centimeters of snow. Winnipeg, about 5 centimeters there as well. With it as well, strong wind gusts up to 70 kilometers an hour. We're looking also at quite a bit of rain through the overnight period. Eventually, this band making its way up the St. Lawrence and over into Atlantic Canada with heavy periods of rain, even the possibility for some thunderstorms there and a rain-snow mix depending on how far north you are. That's going to remain consistent through Tuesday. Now, it's very it's coming at a different time. So, for example, for the overnight period for Toronto, we can expect that rain to continue through, eventually going through a rainy Sunday going into parts of Quebec, and then it'll be Monday going into Tuesday. By the time it brings 42 millimeters of rain to St. John. So overall, a wet couple of days ahead. Let me show you where the temperatures are going in terms of your daily highs for Sunday. 9 degrees for Vancouver as well, -3 for Winnipeg, -8 for Saskatoon, and -7 for Regina. As we take a look at Thunder Bay at -1, things start to change as we get into eastern parts of Ontario, where the high is going to be 14 for Windsor, 16 for Toronto, and 16 for Ottawa as well. Montreal coming in at 14 as well. -1 for St. John's, but a complete contrast to where the Maritimes are temperature-wise. 13 for Charlottetown, 12 degrees and sunny for Halifax. It'll be like that for tomorrow and for Monday, and for Fredericton coming in at 13. Now, let's talk a bit about what's closer to home. 14, it was the high today for Toronto. We're looking at a similar temperature for the day, but one thing I want to mention is this. For the overnight period, expect quite a bit of rain, thunderstorms even possible as well. Some passing showers for the day tomorrow. By the time we get into the dinner hour, you'll see the rain will have mostly cleared, eventually leading to some sunshine for the overnight period going into Monday as well. So we are going to see a little bit of sunshine at the end of this rain, about 8 millimeters there for us. Sarnia seeing 22, so expect to see quite a bit more rain if you're in that region. For the next 7 days, this is what you can expect. A couple of warm days, and eventually we're going to go into some wind gusts, and overnight as well, expect wind gusts to exceed 70 kilometers an hour, so be extra careful. And if you are taking your dogs out for a walk tomorrow, well, you're going to need an umbrella. Check this out. Lovely Dallas and, of course, Lilith going out for that walk, dressed up and ready to celebrate St. Patrick's Day. Otherwise, folks, make sure to stay warm and, of course, stay dry.